Greetings, officers and crew of Starfleet Command. I'm Fleet Chaplain Lt. Commander Dénes House, serving with the USS Henry Hudson in Poughkeepsie, New York. And I'm recording this on the day of Easter, one of the biggest holidays of the Christian year. On Easter, when you go to church in a Christian church, oftentimes people will greet you by saying, "Jesus is risen," or "Christ is risen." And you would respond to them, "He is risen indeed." Well, this morning as I was leading my congregation in worship, I taught them how to do that in Klingon. In Klingon, if you greet someone on Easter, you would say, "Hu ta Christ," Christ is risen. And they would respond to you, "Hu bech ta," which means indeed. "Hu ta Christ, hu bech ta." Easter is a huge holiday. We celebrate, of course, the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. That's a huge deal. It's an upending of the spiritual order of the world. God in the flesh, in the person of Jesus Christ, died on the cross, and 3 days later rose from the dead, victorious. But it wasn't just an upending of the spiritual order, it was also an upending of the political order. And it's kind of interesting in our day today, as the United States is going through a presidential campaign in which many of the candidates are talking about a political revolution taking place. Well, in the first century, with the rise of Christianity, there was a political revolution that took place in parallel with a spiritual revolution. The earliest creed of the Christians was just 3 words: Jesus is Lord. Now, to our modern ears, that sounds like a spiritual statement. But in first century Rome, it was a political statement as well. Because every citizen had to swear allegiance to Caesar by using the words, "Caesar is Lord." Well, when the Christians come along saying, "Jesus is Lord," you can see how that's a threat to the political order. And indeed, within just a few hundred years of the Christian movement, the Roman Empire, which had stood for centuries, crumbled. My kids and I were just watching the original series episode Bread and Circuses, in which the Enterprise crew visits a planet that has developed in parallel with the development of Earth, just a few hundred years behind. They visit an Earth that has 20th century technology, but an Earth in which the Roman Empire never fell. They have automobiles, they have television cameras, they have machine guns, but they also have a vibrant Roman Empire with slavery and gladiatorial games. The Enterprise crew comes into contact with a group of escaped slaves who follow a religion called the Children of the Sun. The Children of the Sun follow what they call the Words of the Sun, a teaching of the brotherhood of all humanity and total peace. The Enterprise crew finds this strange. Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, they find this a strange thing because in the Roman Empire on Earth, there was no such thing as sun worship, worshiping the sun in the sky. But of course, at the end of the episode, Lieutenant Uhura corrects them and says, it's not the sun in the sky that they worship, it's the Son of God. They had their Caesar and they had their Christ because it's a parallel world. The fun thing about the Christian teaching, of course, is that there's no such thing as a parallel to the resurrection of Jesus. In Christian teaching, the resurrection of Jesus is a unique and unrepeatable event. Makes me think of C.S. Lewis's fantastic book, Paralandra. It's the second book in his science fiction trilogy, the space trilogy. In Paralandra, Lewis's hero, Ransom, visits a world that's just beginning, with its first inhabitants, has just freshly been created. And of course, into that world comes the evil one to tempt the first humans away from their relationship with God, much like happened on our earth as Christians believe. One of the fun things in this book is a discussion of the uniqueness of the Christ event. The people on this world, Paralandra, when they hear about the Christ event on our world, they recognize that if God once dies and rises from the dead, such a thing cannot be done willy-nilly on any given earth. Instead, it's an unrepeatable event, one that changes everything. It's not just a religious upending. It's not just a political upending, but it's a cosmic upending. That encapsulates, I think, in a very brilliant way, the Christian teaching about Easter. It's an upending of every kind of order in the universe. Christians rejoice at Easter because Easter is a complete reconfiguring of human existence. For the person who believes that Jesus is Lord, Caesar can never be. For the person who believes that Jesus rose from the dead, death is not the end. There is a life after death, a life eternal in a relationship with God. Because Jesus rose from the dead, nothing else can ever be the same. It's a complete reordering of the priorities of human existence. Now, I don't know if you celebrate Easter. I hope that you have the opportunity to, at least once in your life, to experience Easter in a Christian tradition. It's a wonderful, wonderful time. But even if you don't, I wish for you the happiest Easter imaginable. I wish for you a time of joy and peace, a time of hope for the future. That's what Easter is about for Christians, and I wish it for you as well. Jesus is risen. He is risen indeed. Live long and prosper, and God bless you.